Hey everybody, I'm Matt MacArthur coming to you again from Spur, Texas, the international headquarters of Broke Rednecks. Now, we've had some people ask us about some good solid budget handguns for concealed carry or just home defense. And so, I sat around Travis and we came up with a small list. It's not all inclusive, but what we wanted to do was come up with some firearms that are going to be effective, that are going to be effective for concealed carry and that they're concealable, but also going to be effective in that they have a decent caliber. They can actually work for the purposes of self-defense, home defense, or carrying it out in public. And so we're going to talk about a small list of these that we own and really like. And I've got some bullets over here on the side. You can probably see them on the edge of the table that I'll hold up and kind of give you a ballpark on which guns they go to and kind of what you're looking at. Now, not in any particular order, but since people have asked about budget, I'm going to go with the least expensive gun on this list. Now, this is a Ruger P89. It's one I got for Travis. It was his first handgun. I probably could have got him a Glock, but at the time he tended to break things, so I got him one that's virtually unbreakable. Now, this particular gun, it's semi-automatic and it's double action. You can suppress the trigger, and when it's chambered, pull it, cock it back, and when it's chambered, it will hold. It's just a good, solid handgun all around. It's heavy. The downside to it is it's missing a little bit on the grips. It's unlike the Glock or the Smiths. It's, doesn't have the newer style grips. It's got what they call the floating barrel to it, which is fine. A lot of people like these styles. They were popular back in the 90s. Brett made a version. I got this because it was $225. I could afford it. Get him a handgun. It's chambered 9mm. Because of its weight, it's got next to no recoil. So, if you're dealing with a younger shooter who is scared of recoil, wants to get a hold of a handgun and practice with it, and something that's not going to frighten them, this is a good solid gun. You're not going to see any of them new, but you will see them used in pawn shops. You can find them at gun shows. And it's just a good solid handgun. It's a little harder to take apart. You'd probably need to get some directions or get a YouTube video on how to properly take the slide off and clean the action. There's some buttons to push. Took Travis a little while to figure it out. But other than that, it's one of those guns with a standard sights. Can't really see from there, but it's just got the old metal peep sight, like normal. Just easy to handle weapon. Now, it's not all that hard to conceal. You can put it on a person. It's not big. Comes standard with a 4-inch barrel. So it's going to have the range you would need. It'll go out 20, 30 yards really, really effectively. But at the same time, it's chambered in 9mm, which is this bullet right here. Can't see very well, but small enough bullet. Big enough to drop somebody, but not so big that it's going to punch through a whole lot of stuff. The magazines with this, you can find pretty much anywhere. Academy, you can order them online. They come with, I believe, a 17-round capacity, typically plus one in the chamber. So just a good, solid, all-around budget gun. And it's not too hard to get proficient with it. And being in 9mm, the ammunition is going to be less expensive. Next one I'm going to go with, because it's here, is going to be the Smith & Wesson SD40. You'll notice that I keep the slides back, and before I mess with it, I look down the chamber. For anybody who messes with guns, and those of you who are new, even though we unloaded these guns ahead of time to look at them, make sure the chamber's empty. You'll see me always look, even if I just checked. It's better to be safe than have a hole in your hand. Now, this has, I believe, a 3.5-inch barrel. It's got about a 15-round capacity. The reason I bought this particular gun is twofold. I picked it up and I really liked these grips. They're kind of rough. They feel like sandpaper. But if you're ever in a situation where you have to use a gun for self-defense, it's not going to be on an air-conditioned indoor range in the middle of Dallas. It's going to be outside. It might be raining. It might be foggy. You're going to be nervous. Your hands are probably going to be sweaty. You want something you can get a good grip on. And I like that for this purpose. It's a little bit shorter so you can conceal it. I also really like the sights. I'm going to hold it up and try to see if you can get a good view of this. See how the sights are red and green? On these sights, especially in low light conditions, it is very easy for a person to pick up a sight picture. It's one of the first things when I was looking at it in the store, I picked up and I'm like, oh, I like it. Like I say, it's a good solid gun. The magazines for it are not terribly expensive. We found them for about 20 bucks a piece. This gun was used, I paid $250 for it. Now, I then went out and bought a couple of new ones, and I paid about $325 a piece for them. Bought them at Academy. It's a good, solid, fair deal. It's affordable, but we took it out and shot. It works great. Our only complaint is the trigger pulls a little long. If you've been shooting Glocks, it's going to mess with you when you pull it. You're going to have to bring it in a long way before it goes off. But if you practice with it, you'll be fine. Travis carries this one. He's hauling out targets without any issue at all. Third gun I'm going to look at is just to throw something different. You never see concealed carry people tell people to carry revolvers. Now, this is my revolver. I've had it since I was about 16. It's Ruger Security 6. It is chambered in .357, but you can also fire 38 special through it, which I like. You can put the smaller bullet. The .357 is this one right here. You can see, while sitting on the table, you can probably see how it compares to the other ones. That .357 has a good distance to it. Compared to other pistols, it's got knockdown power and a lot of range. The downside to it is it only has 6 shots in it. You can have speed reloaders, but they're not as efficient as a normal magazine. The upside in my mind to the revolver is it's something that's a little more comfortable for new shooters. If you have a situation where somebody's in the home that's uncomfortable with handguns, largely due to bad media coverage, something like this Smith & Wesson, because it's black and looks tactical, is going to scare people. A revolver is less intimidating, unless you're a bad guy looking down the barrel at one. Because when you're looking down the barrel of a .357, you pretty much want to stop whatever it is you're doing. Now, it's also got easily interchangeable grips. These are Packmeyer grips. I put these on, they cost me about 20 bucks. With any of these revolvers, you can do this sort of thing. You'll see a lot of them with wood grips. Now, these are running about $400. Not terribly expensive, but, you know, you'll have a little money invested in it. Now, the upside to it is 38 Special or .357 is not terribly expensive. It's less expensive compared to, say, the 40 cal or 45 if you have those. So it's not going to break the bank going out and practicing with it. Also, because it's double action, you can cock the hammer. It makes pulling the trigger real simple. You just nudge it. And for newer shooters or people learning to shoot handguns, that can be really refreshing. A long trigger pull like the Smith & Wesson can take a minute. People tend to jerk it. With this thing, if they cock the trigger, they're on target. They don't have time to jerk the barrel. The other real upside to it is from an intimidation standpoint. If you're telling somebody, stop, don't go any further, you cock that hammer. It's not loud, but they hear it. And they know that bad things are coming. And they typically go away. After all, we don't necessarily want to shoot people if we can avoid it. Sometimes it's good enough to scare them away. This is my concealed carry weapon. This is a Glock Model 22 40 caliber. I've had this, I carry it in law enforcement, carried it in security, I carry it concealed. Now, with some states, and it's true with all these guns, you have to check magazine capacities. I believe New York's gone to 10 rounds. This one standard will hold 15 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. Now, like the Smith & Wesson 40 caliber, it's a little more expensive, the ammunition, than the 9mm or the .357. However, it's a good knockdown round. If you hit somebody with this, they're going to fall down. If you rack this chamber, they know what that sound is. They're going to go away. It's a gun commonly used by law enforcement. 40 caliber is very popular with law enforcement officers right now. It has been for several years because of that knockdown power. I switched to this after working as a cop. I used to carry a 9mm, and I have no problem with carrying a 9mm. But we had to fight a couple guys on PCP, and I had seen videos of guys that have been shot with 9mm. I wanted something that would knock them down if I had to use it. So I switched to this, and I've carried this for a decade since. I love this handgun. It's great. It's got a 4-inch barrel. It's standard. It's got your normal peep sights on it. You can get one for about $450. We're seeing like running around. They have newer generations. The other upside to Glock and the Smith & Wessons that we're going to talk about is you can very easily get replacement parts for it. If you want different grips, you want different sights, you're not going to have any problem at all getting them for this gun. So, but again, that's a Glock 22 40 caliber. Just a good solid gun. Lastly is one I just bought. And normally, for concealed carry, I wouldn't talk about one this size. Because, as you'll notice, compared to the Glock 22, it's a little bit longer. It's because this has a 5-inch barrel. It's going to be a little harder to conceal. But Smith & Wesson has come out with this. It's the MP9 Generation 2. Or Model 2, I'm sorry. It came with the standard peep sights, but it also, again, as I talked about, Smith & Wesson came with these roughed up sandpaper filling grips. This particular one came with grips that are interchangeable. I can literally pull this pin out when I'm not on video trying to do it. And when I pull this pin out, I can take this grip off and put a different one on. when I bought this, I got a good deal on it. I got it for $500. And it came with 3 magazines, and it came with a set of 4 grips like this. So what I found with it is that some grips are fatter, some are more narrow. I like to get up on the gun. When I'm holding a gun, I want to be really up on it, get a good grip. Some people with longer fingers want kind of a wider grip on it. But this particular thing came with all the set grips. The 5-inch barrel, as you would know with any of these weapons, the 5-inch barrel, longer the barrel, the more accurate it is, the more rotation on the bullet. This is a 9mm. Again, that's that bullet right there. Okay. I tried to get bullets that were different color more or less so we could see a difference on the table. But it's chambered 9mm. We took it out shooting, having no problem hauling out targets. It's also got a few fun little tactical things. It's got the little grips down here to put a tactical light on if you want. I don't, but you can. The other thing I like about this one is the magazines all have weighted bottoms. So when you put a magazine in it, I'm going to put a magazine in it, not chamber round. When you want to drop the magazine, it's gone. And that's true with any of the empties or anything. And we picked it up and played with it, and after messing with it on the range, we decided, after some thought and meditation, we're getting more of these. I'm still carrying my 40 cal because I'm old school. But this one's going to be, and definitely going to be in my arsenal. But again, I bought this used for about $500. We found some ads. Academy is selling them for about $550 with the whole setup. So you can get any one of these guns easily for under $600. Some of them for under $400, like the SD or the Ruger. You're not going to have a problem finding any of these for under $400. So if you find yourself in a position, you need a good solid handgun. You need something you can conceal carry and something you can afford to go to the range and get good with. Any of these would be excellent options. Now, just because we have a Ruger P89 doesn't mean that other Rugers aren't good, or the MP Shields instead of the SD4. They're good guns too. Any of the Glocks are great, no complaints. And I threw in the Revolver because, after all, nobody carries them anymore, but they're still good guns. They won the West for a reason. So, just to give you some different options to think about. And if you disagree, like something different, you got to pick what's good for you. But this should give you a good baseline as to what a good handgun collection should look like. All right.